madhabs. Today, inshallah, we will be talking about madhabs, right? The evolution of madhabs and how madhabs started to exist, and should you follow a certain madhab or not, and what are some examples of differences among madhabs, okay? So I have a list of questions here. Inshallah, we'll try to go over these questions. And also, if anyone has a question, you are more than welcome to interrupt me and ask a question. So, how many madhabs do we have? Four, right? Do you think there are other madhabs, or these are the only four madhabs? For the Sunni sect, we are Sunnah, alhamdulillah. Ahl Sunnah al Jama'ah, we have four madhabs. But there are other madhabs as well that, that ceased to exist, I would say. Like madhab al-Awza'i, al-Zahiri, still exists but not that famous. Al-Layth ibn Sa'd from Egypt, he existed at the time of Malik, al-Imam Malik. So the answer to the question, how many madhabs are there, if you say four, is not actually accurate, okay? There are more than four madhabs, but the common ones, or the famous ones, the ones that the majority of people from Ahl Sunnah, the Sunni people, follow, they are four madhabs. What are those four madhabs? Hanafi, Shafi'i, Al-Hanbali, and Al-Maliki. Jazakumullah khair. We will, inshallah ta'ala, start by talking about those scholars. Al-Imam, Al-Madhab al-Hanafi. When we say Al-Madhab al-Hanafi, we refer to Al-Imam Abu Hanifa al-Nu'man. Abu Hanifa al-Nu'man was born how many years after the death of the Prophet ﷺ? Or which Hijri year was he born in? Abu Hanifa was born in year 80 from Hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ. That means 70 years after the Prophet ﷺ passed away, Abu Hanifa was born. In which country? Iraq. So actually he was born, he lived, and he passed away in Iraq, Al-Iraq. Al-Imam Malik radiallahu anhu. So the first one is Al-Imam Abu Hanifa because he's the older of the four Imams. The second Imam is Al-Imam Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Al-Imam Malik ibn Anas. Where was he born? In Al-Madinah, Madinat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he was born in Al-Madinah, he lived his life in Al-Madinah, and he passed away in Al-Madinah. So which year was Al-Imam Malik radiallahu anhu wa rahimahullah ta'ala was born in? Who knows the answer to this question? Al-Imam Malik was 13 years younger than Al-Imam Abu Hanifa. So that tells us which year he was born in. If he was 13 years younger, we said Abu Hanifa was born 80. So that means he was born 93. So the year 93 in Medina, right? And he lived the longest out of the four Imams. He lived for 85 years. So that means he passed away in which Hijri year? Who's good at calculations here? If he was born 93 and he lived 85 years, one? No, that's not accurate. 170, actually 179 is when he passed away. And then when we have an Imam al-Shafi'i, rahimahullah ta'ala, wa radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Imam al-Shafi'i was born in the same year in which Abu Hanifa died. I didn't tell you which year Imam Abu Hanifa radiyallahu anhu passed away, but he passed away in year 150. In the same year, some historians say actually on the same day Imam al-Shafi'i was born. So on the same day that Imam Abu Hanifa passed away, Imam al-Shafi'i was born. And he lived the shortest, subhanallah, amount of time. He lived only for 54 years. So Imam al-Shafi'i passed away when he was only 54 years old. So that means he passed away in which year? 204. So he was born 150 and he passed away 204. And then the last one and the youngest of the four is Al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal radiallahu anhu wa rahimahullah. He was born 164, year 164 Hijri, and he passed away. He lived 77 years. So he passed away in 241. So Imam Abu Hanifa was 70 when he passed away. And Imam Malik was 85. And Imam Shafi'i was how old when he passed away? He was 54. And Imam Ahmad was 77 when he passed away. Now, how did these madhabs, come to exist, and why? And what did people do before the existence of these four madhabs? Whenever someone had a question, he would go to a scholar. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, he was the Prophet. He was the only person giving answers to any Sahabi who had a question. Because imagine if you lived at the time of the Prophet ﷺ and you had a question, who would you go to? None but to the Prophet ﷺ. Unless you're traveling somewhere else and you have some other Sahabis with you, you probably ask them. But if you live with the Prophet ﷺ in Medina or in a suburb to Medina, you would come to the Prophet and you ask the Prophet ﷺ. Now when the Prophet ﷺ passed away, who did the people used to ask? His Sahaba, right? So the people, anyone who had a question, they would go to one of the Sahabas of the Prophet ﷺ and they would ask them. Were all the Sahabas knowledgeable or at the same level of knowledge? No, some Sahabas were more knowledgeable than others. And then after the Sahabas passed away, we have the second generation is called At-Tabi'in, the followers of the Sahaba, At-Tabi'in. So the people would go to At-Tabi'in and then they would ask them questions. And now, I want you to imagine this situation. If you have a question, and you go to one of the Sahaba, and you ask him a question, and then you go to